I've been fascinated with the idea of building a social media outfit out of India. Uh, a Indian teenager today spends, like somebody I heard say earlier today, 6 hours on their cell phone because data is cheap, and 5 out of 6 of those hours are spent on American companies, apps owned by American companies. Give me advice from your experience of building all in, being at Facebook, and also having a personal brand, which is quite big now. What should I look for? Is there an opportunity to build a social media outfit that could appeal to young people in India?
I mean,
It won't have the network effect of having Caucasians and Asians and people outside the country.
in the absence of governmental support and intervention, the answer is no.
With that,
The natural momentum is for monocultural consolidation. And the reason is because we've assumed and we've given the responsibility to an algorithmic arbiter that only values one thing and one thing only, which is engagement. And that reduces itself to a set of human conditions that's easily understood and exploitable. So if you think about, like, in a lot of countries of the world, they have their own television stations with their own endemic content. And you would say, well, why? Why don't you just carry NBC News and, the same shows that we would watch in the United States? And the reason is because there is a decision by that government that the sovereignty and that their cultural nuances are important enough that they need to support a local endemic media economy. If that were to happen, then what you say is possible. If that doesn't happen, then things devolve to an algorithm that is just about clicks.
let's say with government support. Let's say the Indian
Then I
government
think that there
supports.
is something that is very possible. I think that what's missing when you think about like AI in the next 4 or 5 years is the understanding by governments that they have a responsibility to build their own set of evals that are very specifically tuned to understand their history on their terms. We can debate whether that's the truth or not the truth and how do we arbitrate that. But there needs to be that intervention. Otherwise, governments will be releasing the cultural perspectives that their population has to a third party that's effectively a for-profit corporation in some other jurisdiction. I think that that's very dangerous. So I suspect what they will do is they will realize that they have to have some set of expectations. And I think when that happens, there is the ability to build these next generation brands. Again, going back to where we started, the pendulum was swinging firmly into monocultural slop. And now we are going to have a diversity of entities that do all kinds of things in many, many countries. Now, think about the implications of that. The fervent, fever-driven approach to have the absolute last basis point of profitability goes away. There will be structural economic inefficiency in diversity. 15 companies versus one, right? The economies of scale decay and degrade at that point.
Mhm.
But what do you get for that economic inefficiency? What you get is sovereignty. What you get is a different capability, nuances at a local level. So I think that that's a really important thing. The pendulum is swinging back in that direction.
I agree. I'm just trying to figure out, I'm trying to build a framework of how it will look, and I'm struggling with it. Maybe I'll come see you in March and maybe we can sit and ideate.
I think that you need to first have a government set their conceptual framework up. What do they think? No, meaning like the parameters of it. Meaning they have very specific, detailed media laws around radio and television. Those have been well defined in every country for decades. But the internet is not. They've allowed it to become this monolithic Borg. Some countries are now imposing certain conditions. AI is the first chance to reset those expectations because you can basically say that anything that is used by my population needs to pass these evals.
That is a very, that's a good thing.
That is a very, well, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's a very powerful idea. There is no version of that exists for social media writ large today. No country can say that. But they can actually say that technically for what an AI model answers. It's just a thing. Do I think it's right or wrong? I have no opinion, except that the conceptual framework that a government comes to on this is going to be crucial. And then how they implement it is also crucial because it is technically possible. That is then the infrastructure stack on which you would build something that's endemically Indian for Indians. And I think that the likelihood, if you had asked me 5 years ago, I would have said, don't do it. You're going to burn money. It's not possible. 5 or 6 monolithic large global companies are just going to dominate all of media consumption. I actually don't think that's what's going to happen anymore. And that's a really interesting idea. Again, it's not about making like one huge cyborg company that rules them all, but it's about making the right company. And I think that that's possible now.
Okay. We're going to take this up offline. This is something I'm really keen to do.
I believe social media is broken today. We were looking at data from a bunch of people that the really young people, 16 to 20, take Snapchat, for example. They might be logging into Snapchat the same number of times, but the amount of time they're spending on it is significantly lower. If you take Instagram, it's become almost no organic content. Like Matty will not post a picture of his, I don't know, you having a drink on a weekend, nor will I, or nor will anybody, none of my friends. It seems to be a place where brands are showcasing different things and influencers are trying to sell one thing or the other, either consciously or subconsciously. To have an app which is not governed by an algorithm which kind of insinuates and incentivizes a reaction in you by triggering hate or emotion that I don't think is conducive in the long term, I think is useful. Also, I don't like the fact that a foreign nation controls the algorithm that defines the mood, nature, and evolution of the youth of my country.
And in the incentive side, do you have a take of how you change the incentives to get people to post the organic side?
I think we are thinking of a very tight funnel on the top where we control who enters the app. Like incumbent social media probably has bots engaging with you and trolls engaging with you. And I don't know how much of it is organic and how much of it is not. But the idea is to have a place where real people can connect with real people, speak about real things without, I don't think anybody can take out bias altogether, but with significantly lower bias and a place which is safe to have discourse. I might agree with you on something, I might disagree with you on something, but I don't think there is a place or an ecosystem today where you can have that conversation. So we hope to kind of create it. But I'd love, advice from you. Broad thoughts on what should a new social media have. Also, how voice plays a part in whatever the newer version of social media is.
First of all, I think the aspiration or the idea, as I agree with. I hope even the current social media platforms will get there too. I think there's a clear aspiration for them to have a little bit more of the positive sentiment rather than kind of the fear driving the algorithm. And I don't know if I don't know how this will get figured out yet, but there's definitely this element of authenticity being now the way to go. Nobody wants to read a corporate, manicured press release statements, and I think that's great. So if I were designing social media, it's how do I get more of that part would be one of the key elements. I'm thinking through both the kind of the voice aspect and do you know AirChat, by the way? Have you seen AirChat?
I have seen AirChat, yes.
They're trying to build a social media based on voice and podcasts.
Mm-hmm. We do have that moat that we already have. Like, I think our podcast is very like entrepreneur heavy. We try and tell people how to start a company, and then we try and help them on the path of starting a company. We have a grant, we give them some money, we try and build a network for them to go out and build. So it can be pivoted around a podcast, not just of mine, but of a bunch of people who have the same outcome in mind.
So maybe, like I'm starting the kind of opposite way on the voice side first. Like, I could imagine the whole interface being very different, where you kind of, the same way you would imagine Alexa or Siri delivering you the knowledge, or some version of Jarvis, where like you wake up, you want to learn what happens on the social media, and it kind of summarizes things that are interesting to you, and you can ask questions, go deeper. Like, for me, that would be like part one, where social media comes with like embedded assistant that kind of keeps you up to date on what's happening, and you can engage with that. Where I could like, leave a comment here, or hey, engage with this part, or respond to this person. And you could like imagine both responses, both being text or voice directly. So that would be like a first, like a very shift into like the static timeline view into more of like interactive companion view. So that would be one component of this. Two, I'm hesitating because I'm thinking like, how would I incentivize the people? And that's the tricky part. But like, I do think if you record a video message from you, like that's great. Second to that, you record audio message, image, then text. So if you could have a voice as part of that, would be great. Simple version of that on social media could be like, you write a post, or you write an essay, and I can listen to that in your voice and enjoy it. But that's that kind of part of how can I leave the messages and comment across would be another big one. Free, which is both on language level but on the voice level, making it straight international, translated and enjoyed across languages would be another one. But look, I think it's a very tricky one in terms of like the incentive side. Like, how do you shift that? You're probably more familiar given your work of like tokenized based or like monetary incentive based approaches. I can see this working, but I'm not a big fan. I don't like this like kind of transactional approach. Like, it should not be that. Ideally, you like engage because you're interested rather than because you think it can give you like the monetary reward. Mm-hmm. Like, it should be a secondary versus primary effect. I think, like what's shown to be working, I think the verification side, I would keep the verification side. Mm-hmm. I think it's valuable for people to know that the other side is a real person. Mm-hmm. And then over time, there'll be a question of how you verify for human part. I think that's going to be another big topic. But I would have that. If I was creating social media, I would bring that as a big part of the equation. I'm still thinking about the incentive part. Like, how would I incentivize the positivity versus the negativity? And that's like almost the world got in some places calibrated this way, where negativity gets more attention. Yeah. And like, how do you shift that?
It doesn't even have to be positivity. It could be neutrality.
Positivity, but then
if you're going to trigger an emotion, like say the emotion could be greed, the emotion could be to pontificate. By being here, you sound smarter. This is a bunch of people who are trying to feed curiosity. There's a bunch of other emotions that you can play with, which are more on the right. If the curve is left being negativity and right being positivity, you're more towards the right.
No, I agree. I think the key thing is you want to avoid the kind of the algorithm just rewarding what gives the highest a knee-jerk reaction.
Correct.
And it's like if you could have a platform that like inspires curiosity and learning, or like different points of view in a way that doesn't lead to just like two sides screaming at each other. Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we can work on this together. You can take care of the voice part of it.
Let's do it. Yeah. I feel like there's no product in the space on the consumer side that has like AI enabled in the right way. So it's like there's no AI social product today. Yeah.
I've been exploring the idea of building a social media app out of India, because I think the incumbent players in social media have gotten boring, for the lack of a better word. Any advice on what I could build around social media?
I feel like I still don't have a platform that I really love, even here. I feel like there's like certain aspects I can go to certain places. I can go to like LinkedIn and do some stuff professionally. You got Instagram, you got X. Like I think they all have like very different experiences and ways to deliver content. And I feel like the world really hasn't figured out what the right platform is there yet. I think there's something to probably do with like an AI native, like social networking platform that could be like I think really important. And I don't quite live in that world to understand that well enough, but I think I would start with an AI first native experience. And I think there are some gaps in what certain platforms are able to deliver today, and also what the kind of content I want to consume and give out, that I think they can give rise to a new experience for folks. And I think we also need it. Like I'm burnt out. Like I don't use Facebook. I don't really, like LinkedIn. It's just like, don't use these things. We need something new and fresh. And there's a way to do that. There's a way to get like the multi-modality of like maybe what I get across some of these other platforms into one experience.
Any advice on who I should hire for something like this, Brett?
I've always, I think the conventional wisdom of everything is to go out and hire somebody like really experienced that makes you feel really good from a really good background that's at a successful company. And I found like that playbook is just complete crap. Like throw that right out the door. And like even now, like Figure has gotten to a point where like we have these big shots like knocking on our door wanting to come work here now. And they're like big companies, whatever else. And it's just like not the right, like if you look at every like generational company, it's not like they went out and picked out like the VP here and the VP here and the VP here and put them together. It's like the opposite of what Meta, like Meta's doing that right now, right? Look at their Meta Superintelligence Lab. It's like you're putting like 15 Tom Brady's together and making that work. It's gonna immediately collapse. Like, it's not gonna work. Mm-hmm. And I think my view is you just need to find the core axiom of what I look for here for talent is people that really care. And I can't find any better way to describe it than caring. They care a lot about whatever, you're trying to hire somebody to do this. They obviously have the technical background to go do it. But even if you don't quite have the perfect technical background, if you have like a high aperture for learning, you're going to go out and figure out how to do that. You're going to learn to code or learn to vibe code or whatever you need to go do. So I have a big thesis on trying to find folks early stage that really care. And that for me, it means like a lot of shot on goals. It means like getting myself out there, talking about what I'm doing and trying to find like this big net, cast this wide net of folks that want to come in here and work with me on this like really important project or whatever it is. And I think for you here, it's like, finding folks that would really care about this problem of trying to build this like next generation social networking app in India that's like native AI first. And I think the first step is like casting a wide net, telling everybody you're doing it. I don't think there's really any secrets in tech. I think people like hold those close to your chest, or they used to. I used to. And it just doesn't matter anymore. Like a lot of it's on just raw execution and ability to deliver product. That really works well. And most people can't execute and most people can't deliver good product. So there really are no secrets. So my view is to try to find somebody that deeply cares.
Do you think it could be voice first?
I'm like extremely bullish on voice models. I'm doing work on some of this work right now. And I think for both like the digital AI front, like it's funny, like we're doing like the physical AI thing at Figure, where like we're trying to do everything a human can in the physical world. And like, I've also been working on something that is also helping out with the digital side of this. And all roads lead to full autonomy of AI agents, whether it's like through a robot or through like a digital systems. And the UI to that, in my mind, is voice, like really good voice. And we just don't have like really good voice today, but it's getting better. Like the line's like getting better over time, and it's like the gap's like narrowing of where we need to go. I think we're like 12 months away from like really good voice that can make an experience like you're talking about work, but we need it. And if not, you don't have like a high tolerance for like a voice that you can't interrupt or makes mistakes. Like it's just not, it's immediately a bad experience. But I think for your thing, it's a 2026 event for you of getting voice models, like native AI, like probably half duplex models, like extremely good. I think there could be a very significant voice aspect of this. And I also think about voice and generative AI, like rendering as a real differentiator to what's really happening today and like kind of like 1.0 social media networks. I would be starting to play around with a couple different of these avenues and starting to prototype them within a week. I would want to see if you can use an off-the-shelf TTS for voice start hooking up like a mock network together and start basically parallel pathing a couple of these like user journeys of what this could look like. And I would say it'd be nice if you could check in with me in a week and we could like start demoing these and checking and testing them out. The only way through this for you is like to be able to rapidly prototype very different type of ideas and feel the experience and what that looks like and trying to close the gap on what you think that experience should look like.
Yeah. I'm going to hit you up after this and seek some help on this.
I want to be your first user so I get like a really great user.
Yeah.
And I can always say I was the first user on your platform.
No, I'd love that. Almost every new company here in India spends all of their marketing money, their distribution money. Like if I were to even start a t-shirt company, a coffee brand, a SaaS company, gone are the days of putting an ad on a newspaper or a TV channel or a cricketing team or, like the traditional way of spending money to get distribution. Don't hold me to the numbers, but pragmatically, I see that declining and more money in discovering clients in India goes to either Facebook or Google and Meta or Google. And that money, that revenue might be registered in Facebook India or Meta India or Google India. But essentially, the way I look at it, it's trickling back to the parent company because the market cap of these companies are going up by virtue of the revenue they register here in India. Since we are at the very core of it talking to entrepreneurs who want to start something in India, do you think there's a play there to disrupt this market? Do you think that's even remotely possible for someone in the Indian youth to build something to take away some of this pie?
Well, if an Indian company started an Instagram or WhatsApp rival, I would be very impressed by the bravery of it. Not that like I'm trying to do anything smaller.
For stupidity?
No. Well, I would say like what I'm doing is similar, where even now people think it's a stupid idea to compete with Google. But I think there's some angle that can work. Here's how I would see it. If you can build way better targeting than Instagram does, at least for consumers in India that you're trying to target for your business. And sure, like people would be at least, all they got to do is like, if they're spending $1 million in ads a year, instead of spending the entire $1 million on Instagram, if they spend $700K on Instagram and $300K on your thing, like that's already a big disruption.
That's step 2 after I first garner the distribution for my platform where people come.
Yeah,
now,
and you need to have one core. You need to have one core reason why people even post on your platform.
Yeah. What
and when you have 0 users, or you're just like getting users, the creators are like, the ones who are posting stuff. They want traction. They want like likes and stuff. They want shares, and so that's the problem. That's a cold start problem. And network effects. That's kind of why I said Meta has a bigger moat than Google, because Google's moat on distribution comes from their deals with carriers, OEMs, and like all these people. But Meta's moat is just raw network effects. Like nobody pre-installs Instagram or WhatsApp on phones. Android pre-installs Google. Despite that, like everybody goes and installs these apps. So I think you got to change that in some way, and you got to build a user base from scratch. And I think that's the hard part.
Any ideas? Say I want to try it. How do I do it? Give me an angle.
To be honest, I haven't thought hard about it, but let me just try to think on the feet here. Like the last big app that actually did it was TikTok, right?
Yeah.
And interestingly, they actually grew a lot through Instagram. Like they spent billions of dollars of ad spend on Instagram to grow TikTok. And what I was told is like the Meta team was pretty like laughing at it. Like, hey, like, we grew to all these users organically. and little do they realize that the retention on paid users is like retention on acquiring users through paid channels is pretty low. And they're just making us rich and growing our stock price through increasing our ad revenue, and they're not going to actually retain any of the users. It doesn't matter. But that ended up being wrong. Like, they actually got a lot of users, and the only reason Instagram is still fine is because TikTok is banned in many countries, and particularly in India, right?
Yeah.
So I would say definitely you got to spend a lot per user on existing channels. And definitely you got to have some new unit of information that existing platforms don't have that becomes core to your, like Reels was new. Obviously Instagram copied it, but at least for a while it was new on TikTok.
Is that where Perplexity will go eventually? Do you think you'll need to have ads?
I hope not. I think the market for just like an assistant that is so personalized to you and does a lot of work for you, gives you daily briefs, updates, does market research for you without you even asking for it, is massive. Like, people would pay like hundreds of dollars a month for such an assistant because it's kind of like hiring a person. And if the ARPU per person is so high, like $1,000 a year, and if we can at least get 10 million people to pay for it, I think that's like a pretty successful multi-$100 billion company of its own. And if you can do that and figuring out a way to like grow X% a year and getting to Google's like ad revenue order of magnitude is certainly more achievable. And so I also think when an assistant's truly personalized, ads are pretty easily doable. Like, the reason Instagram ads are better than Google ads is they're very personalized to you, right? And so Instagram has done some research that if they removed the ads on the platform, the engagement time went down. Google has never really publicly done any study like that. I'm actually certain that like Google removing ads makes the experience better today.
But can they survive without ads?
They cannot. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So the question you asked about can I have an Indian rival to Instagram? You're going to have to play. You're not just going to be focused on building a better product. You have to actually spend like a lot of your energy thinking about distribution, and Meta can anytime come and say like, hey, like just pre-install Instagram on all your phones, and I'll share ad revenue with you for Indian users.
And even before that, I need an angle as to how I get the initial user base.
Exactly. So it's very difficult, but I certainly think it's worth the of attempting. Some brave person needs to do it. Ideal if the person who begins it is having their own audience so they can actually influence. It's Silicon Valley people have tried it, like Clubhouse. Again, like, everything has lessons you can learn from.
So the question is, if text moved to pictures, moved to short form video, could it be long form video? No, YouTube has.
YouTube is there, market. Right?
Yeah.
By the way, YouTube is actually one of the biggest rivals to Instagram, I would say. Mainly because
that was Instagram's market to take, right?
The Reels,
the long form video, as well.
Long form video, a little bit, What I was told is YouTube's ad revenue now comes more from TVs than even like the actual YouTube app. So you can kind of see where people are actually beginning to spend more time on the TVs now than even their mobile apps. So there's probably something there. Podcasts is growing a lot. A lot of people, of course, you're making one of the most listened to podcasts, but it's a thing that Instagram is not really getting, and it's going more towards the Apple Podcast, Spotify, So there's always like people figuring out new forms of content that's not necessarily going to Instagram. So there's something
Do you
there.
think that's an opportunity? If I'm able to aggregate every Indian podcaster
Yeah.
and improve the quality of their video by, I don't know, if I include a chat function where they can talk to the podcaster and the guest, like have some angle like that, do you think if I were to be able to aggregate that, is it a possibility?
Definitely. Another thing that people haven't really tried is like live stream the podcast. Like, let's say we're talking now, and like, so the way podcasts work is we record it, you edit it, you post it, and then people are listening to it, but there's no communication between us and them, right? And like X tried that with live stream, and you know, like, so
And
there's
Instagram
something.
has it too, Instagram Live, but it's not really podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's something where like you can consume all the podcasts. You can also talk to the people who did the podcast. They would respond to you on the comments. You can probably like, I'd say, hey, I want to hear this Nikhil's thing in like, but only the parts where he talks about AI, and it'll just edit it like really fast and just make a new version. You just listen to that. I
That's
don't
something
think
YouTube doesn't do well.
Yeah.
What do you call it when you convert video to text? There's a word for it.
the transcriptions.
Yeah, they don't do
Yeah.
great at transcriptions, right?
Yeah, but that, again, I'm just saying, like, why do you even need to see the transcript? Transcripts are there because it's a hack to get to what you want. But if you literally just enter a prompt and say, just make a version of this podcast for me that edits out what Aravind and Nikhil talk about AI or like neural networks, and it just creates that segment, and they just listen to that. And they
Can
would
that
post that.
happen now? Because
No.
I thought most large language models are text. They're not consuming video
You-
yet, right?
Exactly. So you don't need the video part as much. You just need to make sure the transcript is pretty accurate, or even take the MP3 file, the audio file, and then the long context is good enough to consume all of it. And then you just say, I want only these parts out, and it'll tell you the timestamps, and you take that and make a video out of it. It's going to have rough edges. I'm sure it's not going to work perfectly, but with some engineering, you can make something like this happen. The hard part, honestly, Nikhil, is you got to start from scratch. You got to create incentives for people to like consume stuff. So there's something new element out needed, and then a lot of sharing on existing platforms of how this is the next big thing. And but you're right. If there's one way to aggregate all the podcasts that's happening in India on one platform, and people like being able to edit it, listening in any new language they want on the fly, it might be a big product market fit there.